active inhabitants and outside influence. Much of Egypt's ancient history was a mystery until Egyptian hieroglyphs were deciphered with the discovery and help of the Rosetta Stone. Among the 7 wonders of the ancient world is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Ancient Egyptian civilization coalesced around 3150 BC with the political unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under the first king of the first dynasty, Narmer. Predominantly native Egyptian rule lasted until the conquest by the Achaemenid Empire in the 6th century BC. In 332 BC, Macedonian ruler Alexander the Great conquered Egypt as he toppled the Achaemenids and established the short-lived Macedonian Empire, which gave rise to the Hellenistic Ptolemaic Kingdom, founded in 305 BC by one of Alexander's former generals, Ptolemy Soter. The Ptolemies had to fight native rebellions and were involved in foreign and civil wars that led to the decline of the kingdom and its final annexation by Rome. The death of Cleopatra ended the nominal independence of Egypt, resulting in Egypt's becoming one of the provinces of the Roman Empire. Roman rule in Egypt, including Byzantine, lasted from 30 BC to 641 AD. With a brief interlude of control by the Sasanian Empire between 619 and 629, known as Sasanian Egypt. 1. After the Muslim conquest of Egypt, parts of Egypt became provinces of successive caliphates and other Muslim dynasties. Rashidun Caliphate, 632 to 661, Umayyad Caliphate, 661 to 750, Abbasid Caliphate, 750 to 935, Fatimid Caliphate, 909 to 1171, Ayyubid Sultanate, 1171 to 1260, and the Mamluk Sultanate, 1250 to 1517. In 1517, Ottoman Sultan Selim I captured Cairo, absorbing Egypt into the Ottoman Empire. Egypt remained entirely Ottoman until 1805, except during French occupation from 1798 to 1801. 2. Starting in 1867, Egypt became a nominally autonomous tributary state called the Khedivate of Egypt. However, Khedivate Egypt fell under British control in 1882 following the Anglo-Egyptian War. After the end of World War I and following the Egyptian Revolution of 1919, the Kingdom of Egypt was established. While a de jure independent state, the United Kingdom retained control over foreign affairs, defense, and other matters. British occupation lasted until 1954, with the Anglo-Egyptian Agreement of 1954. The modern Republic of Egypt was founded in 1953, and with the complete withdrawal of British forces from the Suez Canal in 1956, President Gamal Abdel Nasser, president from 1956 to 1970, introduced many reforms and created the short-lived United Arab Republic, with Syria. His terms also saw the Six-Day War and the creation of the International Non-Aligned Movement. His successor, Anwar Sadat, president from 1970 to 1981, changed Egypt's trajectory, departing from many of the political and economic tenets of Nasserism, reinstituting a multi-party system and launching the Infita economic policy. He led Egypt in the Yom Kippur War of 1973 to regain Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, which Israel had occupied since the Six-Day War of 1967. This later led to the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. Recent Egyptian history has been dominated by events following nearly 30 years of rule by the former President Hosni Mubarak. The Egyptian Revolution of 2011 deposed Mubarak and resulted in the first democratically elected president in Egyptian history, Mohamed Morsi. Unrest after the 2011 revolution and related disputes led to the 2013 Egyptian coup d'état, Morsi's imprisonment and the election of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as president in 2014.
British indirect rule lasted from 1882, when the British succeeded in defeating the Egyptian army at Tel el-Kebir in September and took control of the country, to the 1952 Egyptian Revolution, which made Egypt a republic, and when British advisors were expelled. Muhammad Ali was succeeded briefly by his son Ibrahim in September 1848, then by a grandson Abbasai in November 1848, then by Said in 1854, and Ismail Inouye in 1863. Abbasai was cautious. Said and Ismail were ambitious developers, but they spent beyond their means. The Suez Canal, built in partnership with the French, was completed in 1869. The cost of this and other projects had two effects: it led to enormous debt to European banks, and caused popular discontent because of the onerous taxation it required. In 1875, Ismail sold Egypt's 44% share in the canal to the British government. Ismail also tried to conquer the Ethiopian Empire and was defeated twice at Gundit in 1875 and again at the Battle of Gura in 1876. Within 3 years this led to the imposition of British and French controllers who sat in the Egyptian cabinet, and, with the financial power of the bondholders behind them, were the real power in the government. 28. Local dissatisfaction with Ismail and with European intrusion led to the formation of the first nationalist groupings in 1879, with Ahmed Urabi a prominent figure. In 1882 he became head of a nationalist-dominated ministry committed to democratic reforms including parliamentary control of the budget. Fearing a reduction of their control, Britain and France intervened militarily, bombarding Alexandria and crushing the Egyptian army at the Battle of Tel el-Keba. 29, they reinstalled Ismail's son Tewfik as the figurehead of a de facto British protectorate. 30, 31, in 1914, the protectorate was made official, and the Ottoman Empire no longer had a role. The title for the head of state, which in 1867 had changed from Pasha to Khedive, was changed again to Sultan. Abbas II was deposed as Khedive and replaced by his uncle, Hussein Kamal, a sultan. 32. In 1906, the Dinshaway incident prompted many neutral Egyptians to join the nationalist movement. After the First World War, Saad Zaghloul and the Wafd Party led the Egyptian nationalist movement to a majority at the local legislative assembly. When the British exiled Zaghloul and his associates to Malta on 8 March 1919, the country arose in its first modern revolution. The revolt led the UK government to issue a unilateral declaration of Egypt's independence on 22 February 1922, 33. The new government drafted and implemented a constitution in 1923 based on a parliamentary system. Saad Zaghloul was popularly elected as Prime Minister of Egypt in 1924. In 1936, the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty was concluded. Continued instability due to remaining British influence and increasing political involvement by the king led to the dissolution of the parliament in a military coup d'état known as the 1952 Revolution. The Free Officers' Movement forced King Farouk to abdicate in support of his son Fuad. British military presence in Egypt lasted until 1954, 34.
In the elections of June 2014, LCC won with a percentage of 96.1%. 74. On June 8, 2014, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was officially sworn in as Egypt's new president. 75. Egypt has implemented a rigorous policy of controlling the border to the Gaza Strip, including the dismantling of tunnels between the Gaza Strip and Sinai. 76. In April 2018, el-Sisi was re-elected by landslide in election with no real opposition. 77. In April 2019, Egypt's parliament extended presidential terms from 4 to 6 years. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was also allowed to run for third term in next election in 2024. 78. Under el-Sisi, Egypt is said to have returned to authoritarianism. New constitutional reforms have been implemented, meaning strengthening the role of military and limiting the political opposition. 79. The constitutional changes were accepted in a referendum in April 2019. 80. In December 2020, final results of the parliamentary election confirmed a clear majority of the seats for Egypt's Mostaqbal One, Nation's Future, party, which strongly supports President el-Sisi. The party even increased its majority, partly because of new electoral rules. 81. During the 2020 to 2021 Tigray War, Egypt was also involved. On December 19, 2020, an EPA report stated, based on testimonials of 3 Egyptian officials and 1 European diplomat, that the UAE used its base in Assab, Eritrea, to launch drone strikes against Tigray. The investigative platform Bellingcat confirmed the presence of Chinese-produced drones at the UAE's military base in Assab, Eritrea. Egyptian officials were concerned about strengthening ties between the UAE and Israel. They fear that both countries will collaborate in the construction of an alternative to the Suez Canal, starting from Haifa in Israel. 82. On December 19, 2020, Egypt was reportedly encouraging Sudan to support the TPLF in Tigray. It wants to strengthen a joint position in relation to negotiations on the Gerd Dam, which impacts both countries downstream. 82.